Hey guys, welcome back. It's time. We're going to, yes, this is another CGC video, slamming CGC. Must say that this is definitely a prime example of what I figured would be an upcoming video, where we show the different desperation attempts, different methods of these grading companies showing desperation. And I think you guys can, you can probably guess that CGC's way of doing so, their method is by grading things that they shouldn't. They do it a lot. They've apparently done it free of charge. We've seen it with the stolen stuff where they let people skip the line because they want to be the person that grades this. I guess that's their way of standing out. Instead of providing a better service, they're going to provide a service on stuff that shouldn't get that service. So that is probably, as you guys know, my biggest criticism of CGC is the fact that they're grade things that they shouldn't. And this is one of those examples, and it is coming back to bite them in the buns. So we have a nice little post here on the Gotta Misprint 'em All group, and they are absolutely laying into the individual and the card that was graded here by CGC. So we're going to take a look through the entire article. There's a couple nice little pieces here that kind of give the history on what's going on here. And so we'll take a look at all of that. We'll just read through the article here casually, but just know that you probably want to stay tuned for the entire story on what happened. Yeah, you're going to ask, Rattle, what's that crap all over the screen that you have? So just setting up the stream. We're going to have a Monday and Tuesday stream this week. The Monday stream will be a mail day type thing. Tuesday will be a Moonbryon hunt. So you're gonna want to tune into those. And just figured that we'd probably, since I'm streaming a lot more than I used to, we might as well up our game a little bit. So we get the we'll get the notifications on screen, some text to speech, all that super cool gamer stuff. So make sure you tune in for those. We'll be dual streaming on both YouTube and Twitch, provided everything works. That's what the red and purple are on the screen there. So we'll see if we can't get that Twitch number up just a little bit. Okay, back to the polka dot Oshawott that was faked again. Even if they knew it was faked, which it seems like they did because they didn't give it the error designation on the case itself, there's no way they should have put this in a case. Like, if someone's, why are you grading this? And then why does it have a blue label instead of a green one if it's altered? I mean, to begin with, just the thing screams that someone's trying to fake an error card. That's kind of the origin of it. I remember seeing it back when it was raw. I don't know if there was this, and there was maybe one other that popped up. But yeah, clearly just somebody trying to fabricate their own error card. CGC puts it in a case. Why they would do that? We had somebody that, I guess the long story short, somebody that tried to sell it, saying that it was an error card, and now they're trying to sell it again, apparently. So let's get into that. We'll go to the description here. We have Oshawott multiple dot error print test mint print CGC authenticated unique piece. This is your chance to have in your collection a unique piece in the world. Authenticated by CGC. You probably never have seen an error like this. Feel free to ask for more picture. So that's pretty cool. And again, they're selling it as an error. Make sure that we are very aware of that. And CGC put it in a case, which is going to lend more validity to it. The same with the stuff that's printed, the stuff that they added a backstory that came from the people that own the cards. It's just a lot of like this gray area that they shouldn't grade it. If it's stolen, they can't totally verify that it's an actual error. The square cut stuff like that, square cuts you can't tell unless you have the entire backstory of the card itself, whether or not someone cut up a sheet or if it actually just came in a pack that way. So it gets sketchy. Or if a WotC employee got to take it home and chop it up, or chopped it up and took it home, vice versa. So we have Corrado di Gaeta. My apologies if I'm pronouncing your name wrong, but this is the owner of the card, and we're into the let's view more comments here. There we go. Open this bad boy up. They're the owner of the card. They're the ones that were selling it, both originally and then on eBay most recently. And Corrado says, I own the card. It's not for selling. Where have you seen the post, sweaty face? Tyler says, someone's actively selling it on eBay. So, and I would have to say that our boy Corrado here is definitely being sketchy, because first he lets on that he accidentally had it on eBay, and then he's letting on that he wasn't, someone else was selling it. So we got a little scammeroni on our hands, I think, under eBay that you've now taken down. So they're gonna call him on it. No BS approach here. Shame on CGC for grading it, but also shame on the person that is still actively trying to sell it as an error card because of the fact that they did. Kyle says, you have absolutely no shame, don't you? Stop scamming. And then Jim Yates gives it the Logan says, only a real loser keeps trying to sell a fake error card. I would heavily agree. Might as well be a counterfeit at that point in time. Nicola says, trust me, this is not the case. In Italian groups, we know him as the most honest seller you can possibly find. Just a mistake. So I don't know what it is with Pokemon cards. Maybe it stems into other stuff as well. But for some reason, there are a lot of scammers in Italy. I don't know why exactly. They love to scam. They love to scam with Pokemon cards, but they sure do. It's kind of a known thing. I know people that actively do not allow any sales on eBay to Italy for that reason. It's pretty wild. It's always kind of been the case, and I guess this is another one of those. So Logan says, how do you mistakenly keep listing a card you've been told isn't an error that has intent behind it? Sorry, your star seller isn't so great. Logan says, like, there's a mountain of evidence against this guy, and you're going to come in here playing White Knight. Nicholas says, no mountain of evidence, just a mistake. This guy's sold to hundreds of people and doesn't have a single bad-looking episode in his history. In my opinion, no way he was going to risk his reputation like this on eBay with his main account. I mean, he did. He tried to sell it, and then this is his, I guess, second attempt at selling it on eBay. So Logan says, why did he dip from this group within the past hour if he's innocent? All right, and then we have some comments here. I guess this is before he left. He decided he was going to go on a little tirade, so this is going to be entertaining. You can bet your bottom it's going to be, holy crap, there's a lot of comments on there. Corrado says, hey guys, I'm sorry. I guess we can give him the French cowboy. Hey guys, I'm sorry. I've just seen the card still up on eBay. I thought I had removed like 2 months ago. Sweaty smiley face. Already spoken with a lot of people. The buyer has been refunded 2 months ago. So first I guess he's pretending that it was somebody else that was selling it, and now now that someone called him out on the fact that it was his eBay, now he's just gonna double down here and say that he accidentally relisted it. Okay. Jack says, are you trying to get into a situation where you have to refund another buyer because that listing was just active? Corrado says, no, the listing was still up from months ago. Forgot to remove. Sweaty smiley face. Daniel, eBay's fact. As a seller, you can... Okay, so we're going to get into, like, yes, it will automatically renew itself, but if you remove the listing, it doesn't just magically relist itself. So, Mickey says, and even when there's, like, a cancel listing and stuff like that, you have to actively select that you want to relist it. So, you don't oopsie-doopsie that. Mickey says... They do roll over. We're not going to get into like how eBay works exactly here, but all right. I think that's mostly just that. We'll skip this little conversation because it's mostly debating whether or not he can accidentally relist something that it was, and then still having the description about all this stuff. You should be, if you already kind of made the mistake of selling this to someone, getting called out on it, and you relist it, and you somehow didn't notice that it was still on there, you probably had questions that people were asking on that particular item, because that's the type of item that would get questions and attention. So Jack says, the thing that's so annoying is that Corrado has already been well informed that this was a mistake made by CGC. They regret even slabbing that card, yet he's still out here trying to trick someone. Sad. Corrado says, the card is in my collection, is not out for sale. Where have you seen the post? Why do you have it in your collection? It shouldn't even exist. So full of crap. Jack calls him out and says, it was literally for sale by you on eBay, lol. I've seen the post right here. Corrado says, hi, I'm sorry. The card was no more for sale. Didn't know why it was still there. Just removed. I'm sorry. I keep forgetting to give him the cowboy. Jack Stubbs says, if anything, you should be trying to sell it as an error slab rather than an error card, as that card shouldn't be in a slab, period. I would quit trying to mislead people. Makes you look bad. It's definitely a 1 out of 1, as CGC will never make that mistake again. The description is a flat out lie. Yeah, it is. No, you shouldn't sell it as a error slab. It shouldn't have been graded to begin with. Anyone that's trying to sell this thing is just being disingenuous. I mean, Cincinnati says, right, he is scamming. Yeah, pretty much. Cincinnati also says, in fact, he even said, CGC said the dots were added in later, so it means never was from printing or anything, means did himself. There's a pretty good chance that he put the dots on there himself. And it doesn't surprise me that CGC would just like rush through, grade the thing because they want to make a post about it. I don't know if they ever did make a post about it, but there is some information here. There's some conversations that we're going to take a look at. There's a screenshot coming up. Andrew says, what's wrong with it? Point it out, please. I don't know. Is that a pun? Are you joking? Do you not see the dots that were added to the front of the card? Daniel says, the seller claims it's an error. CGC would not authenticate it as an error and stated it's added ink, altered. And Nicholas here says, but it's a blue label and not green. Is that a drunken face? Thomas, hence the extremely low surface grade and overall grade, lol. All right, we got a nice little screenshot here. So we have Paul Sandler, of course, always. Here he's saying it's not an error. Note 1, surface due to ink added later. Like, why are you grading this crap? Even if it's with a green label, like, what is the point? Other than the fact that, like, you're desperate to get some, like, attention and, like, the odd submitter that wants to submit garbage like this. It just makes you look stupid. It makes CGC look extremely unprofessional. Kevin says, so why does it have a green label? Why does it not have a green label if ink was added later? And Paul comes back and says, the graders have the discretion to give it a green label if they feel it's something deceptive. You mean like a fake error card? Like an unwitnessed signature or ink edges? However, in this case, they felt it was not deceptive, but just a colored on card. So they docked the surface grade to 1. I discussed this card with the graders. In the future, we just won't grade something like this at all due to the confusion it costs. I mean, at the same time, I'm seeing where people are getting like advice to grade cards before they even purchase them. CGC is like advising them that they will grade certain error cards. So, I don't know. I don't know if you can take that. I don't think there's takesies backsies on something like that. Like clearly, that is something that should have been brought forward and made a decision on. What the hell? Like, I don't get it. How do you expect people to like acknowledge you as a grading company and some sort of authority on error cards and stuff like that when you just like someone could just put a bunch of dots on there and you're still going to grade it? Jonathan, well, what's the truth here? Todd says it's not an error. Even CGC put a note that said the card is altered and ink was non-factory. He's been trying to sell this forever. So that's the thing. It's just like a slap it on the website afterthought instead of, only grading things that you should grade, having some sort of boundaries. Clearly, the boundaries, they're pretty much non-existent if somebody can just put a bunch of ink dots on a card and you still grade it. Because as soon as you put it in that case, it's like people are going to, whether you put as many, you can say this is the most non-authentic card in existence. As soon as you put it in the case, especially when it's got the regular label on it, people are going to assume that there's some CGC must have looked into it at some point somehow, right? Jonathan says, I see. I'm assuming that comes up if you search the serial number. Todd says that is correct. The problem is it just never should have been graded to begin with. Andre says the issue is not that he's been trying to sell it. It's that he's been making false accusations about it. It's really so not like false, not accusations. It'd be claims that it's an error, I guess, to go along with the CGC case, which, I mean, someone could probably fall for that, I would imagine. All I'm seeing is an equally overpriced saucer/cup when I search his eBay name. I'm assuming he's since taken the listing down. Deadly Shady Stuff, Corrado. Dude got caught and removed the listing. Yeah, he did. Here we got the Pokemon misprint error test print Oshawott multiple dot CGC no Charizard PSA BGS. So like the fucking G-ballerist of listings. Of course. So the multiple claims of like, oops, I accidentally put it on there. No, it was somebody else that was selling it. It's my card. It's not for sale. Danielle says, strange. I remember Corrado having a public apology to the guy who bought the card from him. Refunding? Dude, your autocorrect is murdering you. Him in full and explaining he was totally unaware. Andre says, yes, he did, and that was a great gesture if truthful, but at the same time, he keeps lying about it to future buyers and making false accusations to CGC. So he's the accusations. I guess he's false associations or false claims based on the CGC grade. Oh my God, it's such a mess just because, like, again, it's the desperation from the grading companies, and they all do it in their own different way. This is the prime example of CGC just being so desperate for some reason for people to still use CGC when there's options available, aka PSA, for the same price. Then you get more money for your card. So in the realm that we're in this day and age, when everyone's cracking their CGC slabs for their binder and or to grade them with PSA. Now that everything has slowed back down and people were just so impatient and needed to grade cards in those times of struggle where you couldn't grade your cards with whoever you wanted. You just had to go with whoever was quickest. And such a waste of money. Such an absolute waste of money. Again, I personally don't like any of the grading companies, but if you're doing it for financial reasons, then you should be sending the cards to PSA. I guess their CGC's way of still getting business is the fact that they'll grade fucking anything that exists. All right, Corrado says, Danielle, my mistake. I didn't remove the card from eBay. The buyer has been refunded also like 2 months ago. Crying. No, not crying. Sweating. Smiley laugh. Ashley says, here we go again. Jonathan asks Ashley, did Corrado leave the group or was he banned? That'd be kind of interesting to know. Dylan, the funny thing is it could just sail on the fact that CGC made a mistake and not be deceptive about it, because at the end of the day, that's a Pope one, and GCG sucks and has ugly labels. Pop. Well. Was this another group post here, or is this him? I guess this is the apology. All right, we have Corrado here on the misprint group. This was a previous post. That was in January of, I'm assuming January of 2023. So very recent. Where Corrado says, hi to all, I'm here again to close the argument on this card. I graded this card to CGC 8 months ago, or something like that, and I sold it to Alessio. After that, 2 months ago, CGC changed the description of the card that they authenticated by factory error, adding in the card description that the ink was added later. They made so a big mistake, and it's not my fault, but I've decided to fully refund the buyer. Thanks to all for your time. I hope CGC won't make error like this in the future. Crossy fingers. So, I don't know. If I had to guess, I'm gonna go ahead and say that our boy Corrado was the one that dotted this bad boy, and just sent it in at the odd chance that CGC would be CGC and just grade something because they're so damn horny, so rock solid to grade anything that's obscure, and the other grading companies won't. I guess, well, recently BGS was also grading stolen cards, so I don't know. BGS, it's hard to tell, and they won't make a statement on it because it's, again, the theory is that BGS is only like 3 employees, so they can't be bothered with that. Maybe they accidentally graded the stuff that wasn't released yet. Again, don't grade unreleased stuff. Don't grade stuff that doesn't have some sort of actual evidence that it is an error card. If you want to be the error card graders, you can't just error grade the shit out of everything. This is a prime example. No, they didn't error grade it, but this is like a card that just clearly shouldn't. If anything's altered, it shouldn't be put on a slab, whether it's a different color label or not. That's kind of what it comes down to. You have people that are dumb and that are going to believe that this is an error card because you put it in a slab. Even worse, that it's got a blue label on it. So we have Nick here who says it doesn't even say error on the slab. They gave it a 2 instead. Travis says Surface scored a 1 for a reason. Martina says to think that Corrado is a scammer and you lose the best seller you could find. What? We got Mark Carlton who says reading the title really gave me a Wish.com vibe and a headache. Is this like an ink daughter? I don't know. Never buy things from Wish. All right, Daniel says, also states in this post that it was up from months ago, but this is taken from eBay facts. As a seller, you can select something. We don't want to get into eBay rules. The dude is clearly just trying to sell a fake error card. And it's also CGC's fault. Not their fault now, I guess, but I don't know. It's just dumb that they even graded it to begin with and didn't see that coming. I get it. You're a minimum wage employee that put this thing in a case. Maybe they were too dumb to see what was going to happen to it. But you would think that there'd be some kind of like research and development error squad plus where you put your top grading professional, the one that makes minimum wage and a half, to take a look at it and tell them, no, we're not grading this. This is dumb. This is just an altered card. Pedro says it's CGC fault. The seller is free to sell for the price he wants, being an error card or not. If someone is stupid enough to pay that amount of money for a card that is blue but doesn't mention error, is buyer's fault, not seller's for sure. No, he's advertising it in the description clearly that he's saying it's an error card. If someone search for error cards, I assume that understands at least something about Pokemon TCG. You are assuming something. I mean, you would assume that somebody making a comment on a Facebook post that's going to type something out knows how to write and read English, but they would be assuming wrong if they just read whatever the hell I read. Not only that, but terrible opinion. Jonathan says, Pedro, the issue here isn't the price. It's the mislabeling of an error when it's already been acknowledged that it's not, and to make it worse, to the same person who is clearly trying to sell it to someone less informed. That's the thing with everything. And then people will, the problem with it being graded to begin with is the fact that like people are going to, the people that are dumb, new, whatever, are going to rely much too heavily on the fact that it's graded because they're like, well, it's graded, it's got to be real, right? No, that doesn't mean it's real. That doesn't mean it's an error. But people are dumb, people are lazy, and they're going to just assume because it's in the CGC case that it's real. That's just how it goes. Someone dumb is going to buy it. Someone dumb will buy it. People get scammed by stuff that they shouldn't get scammed by all the time. This could easily scam someone. He knows that, and that's why he's posting it, trying to sell it to someone else. In 2040, how many people will remember the CGC last update or that slab was mislabeled? The slab will end up being sold as an error card anyways. Now we're in 20 years because it seems so, and it's blue color, and someone will commit that mistake. Yeah, I mean, the people make much dumber mistakes than purchasing this, what looks like authenticated error card. Clearly it's not, but Jonathan says, Pedro, it's very shady of Corrado to, even after knowing the mistake and having to refund another person, that he still attempts to sell it and not add the mistake in the description. Yeah, no, he's selling it as an error card because he's a dirty scammeroni. He probably put the dots on there himself. So even if for some reason it did have the error designation, CGC didn't want to correct themselves on it, he would still be a scumbag for doing it if he knew from the get-go, which he almost certainly did, that it was actually just an altered card that he himself probably altered. Who is now, by the way, not a member of this group after being caught out. Great, why, man? Jack got the little dot on there, so I guess you can follow the thread. Shauna says, can you leave a negative review on his eBay account or inform eBay of the history on the card and that it's a mishap grade? Maybe they'll take it down. So this is, like, again, another one of those instances where I'm going to criticize eBay as well, because they claim with all their Super Buyer Protection Plus, whatever, they're like crazy authenticity guarantee, which is just PSA and CGC regrading your graded cards. Not really. They're just kind of taking a look at them from the looks of things. Sometimes things get damaged. Sometimes the wrong card is sent. Not a great service. Instead, they should be looking into scammers like this. Why do they not have a small team that you can submit this type of thing through, and then they can actually take a look at it instead of like reporting on the site? It pretty much does nothing. There's tons of fake crap on there. There's tons of deceptive stuff on eBay that needs to be taken down, and would be a much easier and more beneficial service, in my opinion. We have Red, who says, look up Moonbryon VMAX, Stunky Wonky Wonkies, ×3. Chris, if someone is stupid enough to buy that at that price with no error designation, that's on them. Guy can make up whatever story he wants, but there is no proof, just a card with terrible surface score. I'll go bedazzle one now. Chris, this is a terrible take. No, just because people are dumb does not mean you should be able to scam them. You're dumb for saying that. Lisa says, if it was an error, wouldn't the label say so? Laughy cry. Yes. Does everyone know that? No. If it's a blue label, is it supposed to be an authentic, unaltered card? Yes. Is it clearly an attempt at making an error card? Yes. It's what it is. Don't try to pass it off that, like, one minute detail about it not having the error on the label. Maybe it's an error. It's an error label where they forgot the error. Gage, errors on errors, baby. Gage, my main issue here is that I have never once in my life seen CGC grade with a blue label on a card where ink was added later. I'm not buying the add or discretion thing because it just doesn't happen. I heavily agree. I think they messed up bad. They could have just owned it. And instead they're going to like beat around the bush. It's like this little pussy wussy excuse crap that they'll do. And they'll say that, like, oh yeah, it wasn't totally the grader's fault. That he graded something that clearly should not have been graded. I think that part is CGC trying to cover their ass. It totally is. As for the rest of it, I don't have much to say because I haven't been following the story. So I would assume that CGC has contacts at eBay, and they should have been looking after this because they're partly responsible for the mess that this, whatever this is, and whoever ends up being scammed and buying this thing. N.I. says, only one at fault here is CGC, and that explanation their employee gave is laughable. I followed a post about this card since it was raw, and CGC did label it as error. So 1 for surface is probably because dots are incomplete. I don't know about that. After lots of backlash from community, they changed the description of the card on their site and started acting like surface grade was because the ink was added later. Maybe. Wait, so he refunded the last buyer and acknowledged that CGC came out and said it's not an error, but now he's trying to sell it on eBay as an error still? Yes. Tony, you're on the ball. Kyle says, the seller keeps making me think he's a scammer every time this card is posted. Frederico, has anyone wondered why this card is back on sale? Bethany, report the listing to eBay. I guess at this point the listing was still up. Andre says, last time a CGC employee had to come forward, I felt secondhand embarrassment. The seller made really unfair accusations and was really bitter. It's both of their fault. It's not one or the other. It's CGC's fault because they shouldn't be grading this stuff. We've already looked at this photo. Jose says, I've seen this so much. My dude still gets the same answers. Added ink. We got Andre who wants to be tuned into this post. So hopefully this is a nice little learning lesson. And I don't know. I think it's an absolute mess. And it kind of goes to show like the worst possible scenario. Maybe not the worst possible scenario. It shows a bad scenario that can happen when they just carelessly want to grade everything because they want to be that niche error grader supreme. But good on. I appreciate everyone that was in this error group here. That laid into what is clearly someone trying to scam others, and for laughing at it. Remember, if anything that's niche, anything that's Pokemon in general, anything you're spending a lot of money on, whatever you consider to be a lot of money, make sure you do the research. Make sure you know what you're looking at before you purchase this stuff. And if you're not willing to do the research, like bad things can happen. And this is kind of one of those examples that not everyone is going to be as hardcore as the people that are in an error Facebook group that are discussing this stuff, that know the full backstory on it. They are the niche of the niche. And yeah, good on them for posting this and calling this dude out. And hopefully CGC learned something from this. Hopefully our Corrado-4 learned something from this. That's about it. That's all I have for you guys. Let me know what you think down below. Should they have graded it? Should they have not have graded it? It's sloppy. It's sloppy CGC grading things they shouldn't. And it's a sketchy dude who clearly just wants to make a buck and probably made this crap himself. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for, make sure you tune in. Got a couple live streams. Make sure you go check me out on Twitch. Get that 26 up to 27 or 28 maybe. After this video. And if that's your preferred method, I mean, I guess most people are going to probably, that are watching a YouTube video, probably would rather watch it on YouTube. But I know I've had a couple people mention that they would like to see it on Twitch. So we're going to try our best to do both. And we'll see how it goes. Monday, mail day. Tuesday, Moonbryon hunt. I will pull it this week. I promise. Join the Discord. Love you guys. Look out for each other out there. And good job. Misprint them all. Call these scummy wummies. Call them out. Give them shit. All right. Bye.